Remember, the renal corpuscle consists of the glomerulus, which is the capillary bed, and the capsule, the container. So the glomerular capsule has a visceral and a parietal layer. The visceral layer is made up of modified simple squamous epithelial cells that are called podocytes. Podo means foot, cyte is cell. So there are foot-like projections of these cells that are called pedicels or pedicles, and they wrap around the glomerular capillaries. So you can see here in this image, each one of these little yellow-looking cells is a podocyte, and the little foot or feet extending off of them are the pedicles. The parietal layer of the glomerular capsule is made up of simple squamous epithelial cells, and it forms the wall of the capsule. Now, filtrate, of course, is going to be filtered across the capillary, so the afferent arteriole brings blood in. The blood is filtered across the walls of the capillary bed, and then the filtrate is going to be collected here within the capsule between that visceral and parietal layers. The glomerular capsule and the podocytes that circle the capillaries form a really leaky barrier that's known as the filtration membrane. So this permits the filtration of water and small solutes to leave the blood and enter the capsule, but it prevents the filtration of most of the plasma proteins and blood cells. So the substances that are filtered out cross three filtration barriers: a glomerular endothelial cell, the basement membrane, and a filtration slit. So if you look at this image, you'll see these three layers as we talk about them. So the glomerular endothelial cells are very leaky because they have large fenestrations. Remember, we talked about fenestrated capillaries. Fenestra is a opening, a window, or a pore. So this allows solutes in the blood plasma to exit across those glomerular capillaries, but it prevents filtration of blood cells. The second layer is the basement membrane. So it's made up of collagen fibers, and it also has some negatively charged glycoproteins. So the pores that are found within the basement membrane allow water and small solutes to pass, but the negative charge of those glycoproteins prevents plasma proteins from filtering out, so they can't get across the basement membrane. And then each podocyte has thousands of those little foot-like pedicels or pedicles that wrap around the glomerular capillaries, and the space between them are called filtration slits. And this permits the passage of water and glucose, vitamins, some amino acids, not proteins, but amino acids, and some very, very, very small plasma proteins, and also the urea and ammonia, the nitrogenous waste, and ions to be able to cross. So just like we saw with capillaries everywhere in the body, filtration is going to be driven by the force of the fluids and the solutes that are in those blood vessels. And one last anatomical structure we want to look at before we move into renal physiology is within the nephron. So the final part of the ascending limb of the nephron loop is going to make contact with the afferent arteriole. So here you can see just a section through the afferent through the ascending limb of the nephron loop, and here you have that afferent arteriole. And remember, the afferent arteriole is going to bring blood in, efferent arteriole takes blood out. Well, the nephron loop comes right back up beside that glomerulus and makes contact with the afferent arteriole right here. And the cells that are in this part of the ascending loop the ascending limb of the nephron loop are going to be very, very tightly packed together, so they're known as the macula densa. So beside the macula densa, the walls of the afferent arteriole has some modified smooth muscle cells that are called juxtaglomerular cells. Juxtaglomerular, beside the glomerulus. So these two together, the macula densa cells and the juxtaglomerular apparatus, make up what we call, or the juxtaglomerular cells, and the macula densa, make up what we call the juxtaglomerular apparatus that helps to regulate blood pressure within the kidneys, working with the autonomic nervous system.